Well, good morning, folks. Welcome back to the channel. I'm not at the farm here this morning, as you can see from the background. I'm over at the UFA Farm and Ranch Supply this morning, and today has been, it's been a gem. Let me just tell you that. So it all started a couple days ago. My father-in-law said he was coming to pick up the bulls, and he was going to haul a load of cow-calf pairs to our place, and he wanted to put them on a section of the farm where we don't have like readily available water. So we have to pump it, or they have to have access to another, basically walk through 2 or 3 fields to get to where there's an open dugout that they can have access to. So we have a dugout right beside where they're going to go to, but it's one that, you know, we reserve, and we don't want, you know, cows getting in there and mucking it all up and just absolutely thundering the side of the dugout. But it's far enough away from the fence line that, you know, it's not just something you can put a solar pump or something like that up for. And so what I have done in the past is set up a whole pile of water troughs. You need quite a few for 30 cows, and then just twice a day go over there with a trash pump and fire hose and just fill the water troughs for them. And it's workable, it's doable, but it is kind of burdensome, right? It's burdensome. And so then he says, well, you know, how far is your nearest hydrant from the field? Like basically from the yard site, right? And yeah, it is like right up at the shop or right off the side of the house. So that works out to 1,300 feet. I paced it this morning before I left for work. 1,300 feet. That's a long run. So I stopped at EMCO in Grand Prairie, just on the west side there, and I stood in the line there in front of, or behind a whole pile of plumbers. Turns out they were gas fitters. I was at the wrong EMCO, but I stood there for 30 minutes, only for Buddy to say, yeah, you need to go to EMCO Waterworks, which is like 2-3 blocks away. Whipped around there, and the guy at the first EMCO was like, you got to go around the back. So okay, I go around the back, and it's just like this yard with a forklift running around and these bay doors, and like there's no parking lot. It's just chaos. And I'm like, I think that guy might be wrong. Like there's definitely a parking lot in the front, and there's a door, and there's an open sign and everything. So I pull out of there and I go all the way around to the front and park in the parking lot, looking at the front door with an open sign, and then there's an 8x12 or 8.5 by 11.5 poster saying, you can't park here, you got to go all the way around. And I'm like, man, I was in the right place the first time. But this, anyway, so then I go around, and sure enough, you basically just park in the middle of this warehouse yard. And I asked the fellow that, I said, well, I give him a hard time. I said, it's a hard place to find. Maybe not that hard to find, but like hard to find where to park and where to go. And he's like, yeah, we like to keep it that way, but what can I help you with? And I said, well, I'm looking for 1,400 feet. I know I only need 1,300 feet, but I mean, I want 100 feet of insurance. Let's just contingency, right? Who knows? Have a little bit extra in case you break a line, or, you know, maybe you cut something too short, you got a little bit extra. So I want 1,400 feet of 3/4 inch IPEX, 75 PSI. And he said, you can't get it. Like, you can't get that. And I said, well, no, I know I can't get 1,400 feet. I need 1,000 feet, and I need 400 feet. He's like, well, no, like you can't get 75 PSI. They don't make that anymore. And I'm like, really? Really? He's like, no, you can't get it. You got to get 150 PSI. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, you can't get 400 feet either. You got to get 2,000s. I was like, I literally, when I come out of the parking lot, I walked by a 1,000-foot roll, and I see over there on the shelf, there is a 400-foot roll. So like, who? And he's like, you're asking for a unicorn. You're asking for a unicorn. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know what you think a unicorn is, but I don't think it is what you think it is. So can you get me a quote on 1,400 feet of water pipe? He's like, is it for a farm application? I said, yes. Anyways, they run me a quote for 3/4 inch pipe. It's 150 PSI. The lady can get me a 1,000-foot roll and a 500-foot roll. I don't know why they have 400-foot rolls, but can't sell me one of those. They certainly can't sell me what's in stock. It's going to take 2 days to come out of Edmonton, but it's 58 cents a foot. And I was like, oh, well, that's significantly cheaper than what they have here at the UFA, advertised for 89 cents a foot. She's like, yeah, we can get it here, you know, a couple days from Edmonton. I was like, oh, that sounds, you know, despite the screw around, it sounds like it might actually be a reasonable thing. And then she's like, yeah, and it'll just be $100 to get it here. I said, but why? Like, it's not coming from Tijuana, it's coming from Edmonton. And how often does the truck come? Oh, the truck comes every day. I was like, so just throw a roll on the truck. And why would you charge me $100 freight? I mean, just for $100, I can damn near drive to Edmonton myself for the price of the fuel. Anyway, so that was bizarre. I said, is there anything better you can do on that? She's like, well, we'll try and we'll email you a quote. So I was like, okay, here's my email. Send me a quote. And she still hasn't sent me that quote. I'm just like, out of curiosity, I'm going to run over here to the UFA and just see, because they advertise it at 89 cents a foot, which is expensive. But it's 75 PSI. Like, it's, you know, I don't need this 150 PSI stuff, which, you know, again, ultimately I'm going to go with what's the most economical solution here. But I walk in there and Buddy's like, yeah, we can get you 1,000 feet and we can get you any increment of hose that you want or pipe that you want thereafter. And, but it's going to be $1,309.77 with GST, and it won't be here for a week, but there's no freight on it. Oh, there lies the struggle. So, you know, it's $1,000 all day long, you know, give or take $300 essentially. And then you still need fittings, and you still need end devices. Like, I still need valves and floats and stock water troughs that, you know, are sizable, suitable for 300 cows, or sorry, not 300 cows, what am I talking about? 30 cows and 60 sheep. So then you start getting into, okay, well, what would it cost to actually run a pump system, an automated pump system, off the side of the dugout? And then just, and can it make the 35 feet from the edge of the dugout to where the water trough would have to be? Or is that, and it has a little bit of lift to it too, it would have to come up about 6 to 7 feet of lift, which may be a bit of a pull for it. But I'm thinking I'd be in the market for about $3,500 for that setup. So it's like, do I do an overground, above ground, summer only watering solution that, I mean, I have no idea what the longevity of this is. Maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, this water pipe, until it's, you know, totally degraded in the sunlight. I have no idea. Or do I just try to invest something bigger, more expensive, that will also probably be absolutely thundered within 5 to 10 years, but maybe, you know, is just less exposed, and maybe a better option, maybe a more mobile option. I'm not sure. I don't know what the right thing to do is here. So leave me a comment. Let me know, what is it you're doing on your farm? How are you managing watering animals where it's a really long run from any available water source? Because I'm almost ready to go to Ritchie Brothers and just buy an old fire truck for $5,000 and just take water wherever you want to go. But of course, that's a ridiculous thing. That's not even a real option. But interesting. What's everybody doing?